All right, welcome everyone. We're so happy you're here with us today. In this episode, we have a special guest. This is Ki Eep. He's a wonderful man, very successful in what he does, and we're so honored that he's on our show today. So, Ki, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Allison and Roy. It's been a while. We haven't seen each other in this unique times. And so this is a good way to meet each other through Zoom. So,
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, we used to live just down the street from each other.
exactly.
Our
Yeah.
kids played together. We would come over to your house and eat your food because we were newly
Likewise.
married and starving.
Hopefully the food was good back then.
Very good. We still remember. Your
Good, good,
wife
good.
is like the culinary goddess, right? Still
I taught
is.
her well. I taught her well.
Oh, you
Yeah.
taught her well.
He's like, what are you talking about? I'm the one that cooks. How dare you?
We thank
Give
you.
her the credit.
She doesn't want to claim that right now. So no problem. We can give her another time.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Give us like a little blurb,
Yeah.
a little who's Ki
Wow. Okay. So where
in
do we
30
start?
seconds or a minute.
I guess we can start where I was born originally. So I was born in Cambodia to Chinese parents. My dad, I was third generation born in Cambodia from China. Or actually, my dad's grandparents were from China, but my dad was born in Vietnam.
Oh.
And I'm also third generation from my mom's side born in Cambodia. My grandparents were from China, from the Fujian province, and then they emigrated to Cambodia many times, many years ago. And then finally, my mom was born there, and I was born there. And then my dad's side, he was from Guangdong area, and so then emigrated to Vietnam, and then found his way over to Cambodia, where he met my mom, and um, we had I was born in a family of three. I'm the oldest. I had two younger sisters. One was about three years younger, and the other one was about 4 or 5 years younger. I was born in a very turbulent time in Cambodia. It was during the killing fields. So when the killing fields happened, it started in 1975. I was about maybe 4 years old at that time. And so it went through the whole span from 1975 to roughly about the end of 79. During that the Cambodia killing field era, we had a family of 7. So it was the dad, mom, me, 2 younger sisters, my grandmother on my mom's side, and my youngest uncle from my mom's side. So my mom's youngest brother. And so
Okay.
7 of us lived in our house. So during that Cambodian situation, we were all chased out of the city, all 7 of us. And during the course of 3 to 4 years, all 5 of them died. So I think grandma died first, and then my youngest sister died, and then my uncle died, and then the second sister died, and then my dad finally died. And so then it was just left with my mom and I. We were the only 2, and we escaped several times over to Thailand, and eventually we made our way to Thailand, to the refugee camps. And there was roughly about 1979. It was when the United Nations asked the whole world that there was a genocide happening in Cambodia, and asked people to help sponsor the refugees.
Right.
And so, funny enough, when my mom put in the paperwork for to be sponsored, she put in to go to France. I Because back then we had like a really distant relative that lived in France or Switzerland, somewhere over there.
Okay.
Somehow the paperwork got lost, and so we were stuck in the refugee camps for quite a while. It seemed like we were there, and then people left, and then and we were still there, and people left, and then we're like, what happened? And so when my mom, she told me that when she followed up on the paperwork again, she found out the paperwork were lost, and so we had to reapply again. But this time she put America. And then sure enough, several months later, we were sponsored by an LDS family living in Seattle, Washington. Bellevue, Washington. And
Okay.
so we came 1979. And so at that time I was about 8.5, almost 9 years old. And so, and began my life as a, um, a Chinese refugee from Cambodia living in Seattle, Washington at the time. And so strangely enough, that family that sponsored us, they had 6 kids. And so, mom and dad, and they had 6, so a family of 8. They sponsored 2 little girls from Korea, and then my mom and I. And so the house was crazy.
Wow.
I mean, every morning, there was so many kids, and I remember that most of the kids were young. I remember that one of the oldest daughter, and she was like maybe teenager, not quite high school yet. And so it was really nice home, a warm family that welcomed us in, and we didn't know them. I mean, but they welcomed us and accepted us, and took care of my mom and I, and we stayed with them for several years. Actually, not maybe about 6 months to a year.
Okay.
And
so you
then
had
we moved
8
out, yeah.
Americans, and then you and your mother, and then two Koreans.
Yeah, the 2 Korean kids, they were adopted by that American family many years ago.
Oh, many years.
So, yeah,
were they part
were,
of the 6
no.
children? Okay, so you had
No,
10.
So they had 8 natural kids, and so husband and wife. So that's 10 already.
Oh, okay.
And then they had 2 more.
Oh, wow.
So that
Adopted.
makes it 12. Yeah, and that made my mom and I, so a family of 14.
Wow.
14 people. All
Wow.
Did you have like 4 to a bedroom, or did you all sleep on the floor on
I can't remember. I don't
something?
remember. I think my mom and I shared the room, and
okay.
I can't remember. I don't remember a lot of the stuff back then, because this was back in 1979.
Right.
And I believe I came over, looking skinny, stick with pot belly and everything like that because of malnourished.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
So I think it took a while for me to finally,
get back to normal,
get healthy again, and then finally clean enough to, immunization and all that stuff, and then finally made it to school. So.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be a very traumatic experience for you, especially when you were very young at the time. So I wonder if your mother had explained to you what was going on. Why is it that you had to move away from home? Why is it that you were traveling to America? Did she tell you? Or how did you know what was going on?
I think most of us kids back then, we grew up pretty fast. I mean, because there was no food. The 5 people in our family, they all died of starvation. And so as a kid,
is that how it happened?
yeah.
Okay.
And so as a kid, I think we learned pretty fast that, this is a unique situation and environment. And so we were always searching for food, searching for water. I mean, several times I almost died myself, and strangely enough, sometimes, when I talk about it, eating all strange of weird stuff, Allison Roy, I mean, anything you can think of, I've eaten it, it is.
Wow, so like insects and whatnot.
That's good stuff.
You're like cockroaches and ants.
No problem.
Those are delicacies.
Oh my gosh.
Basically anything to survive. Anything to survive.
Wow. So it must have been horrific enough conditions that your family felt like they needed to flee that and risk starvation.
They did. My mom's side, they were extremely, extremely well-to-do. I mean, not like royalty rich, but very, very rich.
Okay.
So my grandmother, they had a distillery, they had poultry farming, they had they were grain wholesaler, they had a movie theater. One of my mom's brother had a 7-Up distillery. And so they were very, very well-to-do.
Wow. And so when the Communist Party came in, they kind of like were against the rich, right?
Exactly. We had, my mom told me that we had many opportunities to leave before things got bad. But
Okay.
because there was so much business, so many little things involved, it was so hard to let go of all those, those enterprises that they built up, as the family. And so it was very hard for them to leave. And so when things just flipped all of a sudden, one day, basically we lost everything. And so, all, none of that rich doesn't matter anymore. Now it became, knowledge to survive in the jungle, to find food,
Wow.
um, to not step on landmines, and all those survival skills. So
Wow. Yeah. So
Wow.
just recently, Allison and I were watching a show on Netflix about these two brothers that during World War II, they were Jews,
mm-hmm.
and they were kind of misfits,
Mm-hmm.
and they grew up kind of in the forest, and they were kind of misfits at school and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when World War II broke out and they needed to flee, they had the skills, right? They knew how to hunt and
Yep.
fish and live out in the wilderness and stuff like that. And
Yep.
then they would bring in like Jews from the city that had fled.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting is, they were the misfits, and you had like these educated Jews that were professionals and scholars and stuff, that the roles kind of flipped. They had to flee into the wilderness, and now they were looking up to these two people that were kind of outcasts in their society.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
And so
same thing
we were
happened
talking
in
about,
Cambodia.
yeah, wealth and knowledge, or not necessarily knowledge, but like
Life experiences.
or the stuff that you do with your mind when you have to live for food and refuge in the forest means nothing, right? It's more street smarts and the ability to find food and create
exactly.
shelter.
Because
like
when
that.
we were being moved from one concentration camp to another, you had to escape, and so you escaped at night when the guards were not watching, and so it had to be timed perfectly. In order to escape, you had to pay someone gold, so either a ring, a gold chain, earring, a watch, whatever. You had to give them something valuable, and obviously it's either gold, jewelries, or medicine. And so no one had any medicine back then, and so it was always jewelry. And so you had to give it to them, and they always told you to meet at a certain tree in a forest somewhere, and so you had to be there. And so it was funny that you said that, because after I grew up and became a teenager, and watching all those Hollywood movies and all that, I'm thinking, why weren't my parents, more educated in this survival? But then it was extremely different, because during that period, it was like you said, it was the people that live in the countryside, that live in the jungle, that they knew the secret route, to go through the forest, or not stepping on landmines, and they knew what direction to go to get over to Thailand and not be approached by the guards and all that. And so gold became the bartering currency, right? And so then you had to rely on them, make sure that when you gave them the stuff, that they would actually
double
take
cross
you.
or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Take you on the right path and not
so
take
hard.
you to the wrong path. Yeah. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I do remember, running through the jungle, and then all of a sudden, boom. Oh, okay. Someone stepped on the landmine. Okay. All right. Thank goodness it wasn't us. And so then you just keep on going until you found somewhere safe. So
Wow.
yeah.
So
Wow.
living through that traumatic experience when you were young, when you grew up, when you got older, has that ever come back to you making life difficult, having to deal with that? Because when you're young, I don't know, maybe like, how young people that experience trauma, when they get older, it kind of comes back to them and they have a hard time like dealing with it.
It's very interesting, because I do see other people that were slightly older than me, and that had that traumatic experience. I fortunately I was at a very young age, young enough to know what's going on in my environment, but not old enough to be traumatically affected by all that.
Okay.
And so I was it never affected me, but it affected me for the good. It made me really strong, but it also made me my wife, she tells me this all the time. It made me a little bit colder.
Okay.
Not in the sense that I don't express emotion as much as some other people, because I think that's easy, man. You just get over it,
Right.
It's like
Somebody falls
right?
off the roof and breaks their pelvis, and you're
Okay,
like,
you still got another leg. You still got two good arms.
yep.
Just get over it. And so it's that type of feeling. So it made me a little bit,
Callous, maybe.
a little bit on the overside of that. And so when I see things, I think it's really not that bad. What's the big deal? Just and so
Tough it up, yeah.
so sometimes it doesn't always fit, and so I gotta make sure that I'm at the right balance. So.
Gotcha. So when you were like a high schooler, or a teenager, or whatever, did you ever like experience some kind of bullying? And you're like, what?
Oh,
I grew up in the killing fields, bro.
exactly. In fact, I was never bullied, but I was the one that protected, the kids are being bullied.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So, I grew up in this. Okay. So after we left Bellevue, we moved to Seattle for like 2 years. And then after that, we moved in the early 80, I believe it was like 81 or something like that. Then we moved to LA.
Okay.
And so it's a typical immigrant story. We moved to LA because we had like I think it was a really, really distant relative, lived in, of all places, Chinatown, Los Angeles. Okay. So we ended up at Chinatown. We lived there for like 6 months or something like that. And then we moved to another place, which was predominantly in the early 80s. It was 50-50. It was Caucasian 50%, and then 50% maybe immigrants, Hispanics, Chinese. You got some Indians and Asians, all mixed.
Okay.
But then as the time grew, the Caucasian moved out, and so it became more immigrant. It was basically by the time I became high school age, graduated high school, it was almost like 80 to 90% Hispanics, and then the other 10% would be Asians. All throughout. You got the Indians, the Islanders, Chinese, and Southeast Asian, everything like that.
Gotcha.
And so
did you have to deal with gangs and stuff like that?
Big time. And so rather than not getting into gangs and all that, but a lot of my friends were into gangs. They drove around flashy cars, and I'm going, Mom, why am I still have this cheapo cars?
Why do I have the Pinto? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Not that I was tempted, but it was very easy. It was very easy that I could have joined any gangs and been so successful at it. But rather, thank goodness that I grew up in a church, that LDS church, and so every week we always had youth activity and go to church on Sunday, because I was in a scouting program, and so we would always go camping and learn all this scouting stuff, and so it kind of kept me straight.
Okay.
Not only that, but the missionary that baptized my mom and I, when I was a teenager, 14, 15, 16, those 3 years, my mom sent me to Axtell, Utah. Okay, you guys know where Axtell, Utah is?
No. Axtell?
Axtell, Axtel, Utah.
No,
it's in
never
the
heard
middle
of
of Utah. It's by Gunnison. Okay. Okay, so because he was a farmer, and so I would become a farmhand. And so when I was 14, 15, 16, those 3 years, I became a farmhand.
So every summer she'd ship you to the farm.
To get away from the city, because, in the summertime, you up to no good, right? I mean,
gotcha.
All that stuff that you can get yourself into trouble. And so I became a farmhand for like a month and a half or something like that. And it was so fun for me. I drove around tractor, I milked cow, castrated
The bulls.
calves, bulls, shotguns and everything. It was so
Yeah.
fun for me. But at the same time, it kind of gave me a different lifestyle to be away from all that, that city trouble. And so that
Gotcha.
was, that's what my mom did for me. That helped me, more ground myself to things, and so kept me out of trouble. So
That's so
and
cool.
so
So
yeah,
when summer
back
would
home.
come around, would you be like,
Yeah,
Mom, I'm not going back to the farm. No way. And then
actually,
she shipped you.
it didn't matter. I mean, I don't think I had a choice, Roy.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like you didn't have a choice, but like when I was a young men's leader, we would always create these activities, like these
Yep,
high
yep,
adventure activities, and we'd
yep.
invite all the boys, and they would be like, no, I don't want to go. But then when we got them there, they were like,
Yeah,
oh, this was the funnest.
exactly. Yeah, I didn't think I have a choice. Growing up Chinese, I mean, you did what you're told, and so you don't question, you don't talk back, and so yeah, you just go along with it. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
That's
So
good.
again, back to the story about being bullied. So rather than being bullied, I was always the one that protected, those Chinese kids that were bullied by the Hispanics, that you know, dominated the school. And
Gotcha.
so got in a lot of fight, and so thank goodness I won all of them. So
Good for you.
That's awesome. I'd never know that you were that feisty kid.
well, yeah, I mean, just don't push it, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
It's like I got two switches. I got good
Yeah.
guy,
That's
bad
right.
guy.
That's right.
You
I
don't
got
want
the.
me to flip that
That's
switch
right.
to
I
the
got
bad
the
guy part.
calm switch. I can deal with it, and you want to deal with it, great. If not, then we'll take it up a notch. So
So
That's
Key,
awesome.
I'm curious about how, so when you first came to the United States, you were about 8 or 9 years old. Did
correct.
you have to learn English as a second language, or did you
Yeah,
already
yeah,
speak?
everything. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
In fact, when growing up, because my mom's side is still from Hokkien, right?
okay, yeah.
Fujian, and so while young, I was speaking Hokkien,ese,
Okay,
Fujianhua with
right.
my mom and dad and all that, and
So is Hokkien like a
Taiwanese.
dialect?
Yeah, yeah,
Taiwanese.
Taiwanese.
Okay, it's a
Yeah,
dialect of Taiwan, or
that's
a
correct. Yeah,
dialect of Chinese that is Taiwanese.
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay,
So when my dad, he was in business, okay, and so he sold electronics, he sold radios and record players and all that, and so we had a lot of people going in and out of the house. So while young, I grew up listening to Chaozhou Hua,
Oh,
Chaozhou, Hokkien, Mandarin, Cantonese, Cambodian, and so those five language I have them in here somewhere. And so
okay.
while growing up, I always speak Hokkien with my mom, and so when we came to the U.S., sometimes we speak Cantonese at home as well. But then all of a sudden, my mom one day says, let's not speak those dialects anymore. Let's speak a more um, you know, widely used dialect. Let's speak Mandarin. And so we started speaking Mandarin. And so that's why, um, as a family, we spoke that. And so when I first came to the US, yes, I had to, learn English brand new and everything like that. And so it was fun. I think I remember I was in like ESL classes, in school in Seattle. They had this special teacher that helped me, try to read and to pick up words and all that, pronunciations and all,
Okay,
a lot quicker. And so I picked up pretty fast. So
that's awesome.
you have a gift.
Yeah, back in
hopefully, we'll see about that.
the back in the 80s, right? I grew up in Utah,
Yeah,
and we didn't have, back then, all you had were just normal white kids.
yeah,
And so I bet maybe in Washington it was very similar. Nowadays we have a lot more Hispanics, people coming up from the southern border.
mhm,
So there's a lot more Spanish speakers. But
yep, yep,
back then, say if some kid came from outside of Utah, he was probably the only non-English
yeah,
speaker.
yeah,
So there was probably a lot of people to help. But
yep,
now there's like so many non-English
yeah.
speakers, you probably don't get as much help. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember when I went to school in Seattle, there was only two Asian kids and then one Italian kid, because that Asian kid, me and that Asian kid and that Italian kid, we became really good friends. And so
Okay.
the three
You're like
outsiders, yeah,
the three non-Americans.
yeah.
Wow. So what was my question I was going to ask?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Key, you and your wife are raising two international children, right? Because you
Yes,
move
we do.
around quite a bit, and so your children grew up in different areas around the world. How is that experience for you and your family? Would you like to share with us?
Wow. When we first moved to China, this was for my work, so we were sent to China as expats. And so for Jennifer and I, my wife, we were really excited, but then we were very concerned, like you said, Allison, for our son back then. He just
So when
barely
you use the word expat, that just means somebody from
yeah,
America.
a company sent me there to work, and so I worked for the U.S. company, but then they had a subsidiary, international subsidiary, and so I went there to manage those subsidiaries.
Okay. So
Yeah.
American working abroad.
Yeah, and working abroad. That's correct.
Okay. Sorry.
And so
keep going.
we were
I didn't mean
there.
to bring
Yeah. So we were there. We were very concerned how this was going to affect them, because, like you said, we moved quite a bit.
Right.
But thank goodness for my wife. She did a really good job grounding him. I'm not, when I say ground, I'm not like punishment ground, but making sure that he knows the culture and the value that the country that he lived in and appreciated. And so, our oldest son, Brandon, we moved basically 1 year we'll live in Guangzhou, the next year we'll live in Shanghai, and then we'll move back to Guangzhou. And so because of that, he had to switch school many times. And so we were concerned whether or not he was bullied, and he was bullied a little bit. And so we helped him overcome that. But now, his eyes, his knowledge, his appreciation of people and everything is incredible. And we're so proud, that he has had that experience. And it's so well, I keep telling him, I said, yes, it was not so much fun that we moved a lot, but because we did all that, you grew up to be a better man than a lot of your classmates, and you learn to appreciate things a lot more than other people. And he sees that now, because now he sees it now that he's interacting with his college friends and classmates and all that, and he sees why are people their thinking are so isolated.
narrow.
Right.
Narrow. Yeah. Whereas he understands. You don't have to accept it, but you have to understand it, and then know that there are other people out there that may not think the way you do. So,
Gotcha.
so yeah, it worked out pretty well. And so now we're hoping that the little one will have that same opportunity as well. So.
Gotcha.
I'm sure.
So when he was growing up, moving around all the places, was he resentful and now he's changed his attitude, or has he always
he didn't have a choice
somehow?
So same thing, you go where dad and mom go. And so because of my work, I was sent there by a US company, and then I worked for them for several years, and then I left that company, and then I continued to work for China, domestic China company. And so as a result, I traveled a lot. I had the wonderful experience to work in Africa as well. And so I was in Africa for many years and worked. And then that, same thing, it was very humbling for me to see, the different lifestyle, the wealth disparity and all that in those countries. Likewise, I also worked in Vietnam, in Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore. And so, we've seen everything. We've seen the richest possible, the poorest possible. And so, thank goodness that I came from the background where I was so dirt poor, no food and everything. And so I learned to appreciate and accept people for who they are. And so
Gotcha.
it worked out pretty well. So
that's so cool.
Wow. So your childhood experience actually becomes a gift.
Strength.
It did very much. I mean, it was a hard way to earn this gift. I mean, it was a very hard way to earn this gift. I mean, I wish I didn't have to go through all that. My family could have been all together. My father was he was an incredible man. My mom, relied so much on him because my mom, she grew up, she was like, the queen of the house, right? She
She's
didn't
like the
have to do
princess.
anything. Yeah, the
Yes.
princess. Yeah, exactly. Um, you know, not royalty, but extremely rich. My mom, she had everything she ever wanted, and so she never had to learn a lot of that street smart stuff,
Uh,
that survival stuff. And so, we were lucky that during the Cambodia the incidents, we had people that welcomed us, accepted us, and all that. And so we were able, I don't know, somehow Allison, we were able to survive through all that, and made my way to the U.S. where I hopefully can contribute and help other people. So.
uh. So have you kept ties with that family that sponsored you?
We do. Yes, yes, yeah. In fact, that mom, she lives in Idaho now, and since sponsoring us, she has sponsored many other kids also.
Wow.
Children from Russia, Africa, all throughout many places, and so she she really did. She was an angel to us. She accepted us and gave us a new life that that we thought that we didn't have anymore.
So she's one of those golden people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much. Yeah.
So like back in the 80s, maybe you can tell me something about this. So a couple of years ago, and maybe still ongoing now, there was this problem in Syria, right?
Mhm.
Where a lot of refugees were fleeing Syria,
That's correct. Yeah.
and the UN said, hey, we have hundreds of thousands of these people that have been displaced. We want to, relocate them throughout the world or whatever.
Mhm.
And there was a big backlash
That's correct.
here in
Yeah.
America. They're like, we don't want these terrorists coming
Yeah.
in and
Yeah.
infiltrating our country.
Mhm.
And so it seemed like inhumane. But back when Cambodia was having that problem, do you remember or not if there was a backlash, or was it was it completely different? Was it like Americans opened up and said, oh yeah, we gotta do something about these horrible times?
From what I can remember and from what my mom told me, and now that I'm older, I talk and recollect and all that, it did not. It seemed like back then very welcoming.
Okay.
There was not a lot of resentment toward refugees or immigrants. It was very welcoming, and we're
Yes,
different times
different
right
times,
now.
right?
Yeah, very different times right now, and you know um, pretty sad right now to see a lot of the fighting and this and that on the news. The two party whatever. Not just U.S. I mean, we lived for many years in China, and then we see things going on there. We also lived in Taiwan, and so basically a lot of political mess is happening right now, and it'll be nice to go back to these traditional value that we had, and welcoming people and all that, and just who knows? I mean, a lot. True, not everyone turns out right, and so but there are a lot more that turns out right than those who turn the bad, and so you look for the good in people, and not say, hey, look at that, out of 100 people, look at that family, they became really bad, and so yeah, those immigrants, they must be bad, and don't forget the 99 that made it and contributed to society, to American culture, and to the richness and wealth, the culture that we have in America, this melting pot that we have.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, maybe
So
one day you'll get back. So we'll see.
yeah, we hope, right? So
Yeah.
maybe it'll be people like you that bring us back there.
It takes a lot. Funny thing, I don't have a political bone in my, in me to cause any mass, mass.
Or I guess I should have said it'll take people like the mother or the family that brought
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
in, right? That'll
Yeah,
open their
exactly.
hearts and take a chance,
Yep.
whatever.
So Key, out of all these different cities, different countries you have lived throughout your life, where do you call home? Which place?
Funny, you should ask that. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Every time when people ask me, so where are you from? I go, oh. I said, you want a short answer or the long answer? um, I consider LA, Los Angeles, my home because that was when my eyes lit up. When I say lit up, that's when I was a kid. I learned enough, became a teenager, thought I knew a lot, became a high schooler, thought I knew even more. And so, that's I call myself LA. I call LA my home. But now we live here in Lehi now, Lehi, Utah. Um, we have a home in Taiwan, that we go back quite often. And so now um, I'm getting ready again. In fact, I should have been in Taiwan now. We were in a transition. We were in a transition of getting ready to move to Taiwan. And so I went there January with my wife, found our apartment, found a nice school area for our sons to go, for the little one, for the Kisan to attend. And then I came back here early March
Oh, and then they shut
to
down.
attend a company trip. And then all of a sudden I'm grounded. I can't, this COVID thing, stay home, no international travel. So I've been here this whole time. So when this thing is lifted again, I need to go back to Taiwan to get the work running again, and also get ready to move my family to Taiwan for this new assignment that I have. So
Okay.
yeah.
So will you keep your home here in Utah?
Yes, we will. I mean, this
two
is
places.
yeah. I mean, comfortable place. We have a lot of friends when they come, they stay here, and so this will probably be their bed and breakfast, or whatever.
Nice.
All the friends are welcome to stay here when they come. So
Nice.
Wow, Key, your life story is so inspiring. I just feel
Oh.
like now I have such high respect for you.
No.
Where I didn't
Not
really,
at all.
We
because
didn't
I
even
was
have
like,
respect for you before.
no. It was just like,
Now,
we were
20
just-
years
No,
later, we finally
you-
got the respect you deserved.
It was negative. Now I'm back to zero. So thank you.
you were never the negative, but I just feel like I just admire you for the kind of person and your spirit.
I've seen you two. I've seen you two at Allison, your sister, and Roy. And when you guys, we were really young back then. We were really young, and so look at you. You guys been married for all these years. I think you guys are just like a year or two behind us, right?
Yeah.
I'm going on 25. So
we're going on 22.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going on 25 years, and so I can't imagine, how fast time flies. When we were all at BYU attending the singles ward, and so, look at us now. Our children are in colleges, and they're ready to head out on their own, and so hopefully we taught them well. Hopefully we
Yeah. Some regrets.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
Yeah. Even though I'm Chinese, but I pretty much grew up American, and so I'm as banana as you can get. I'm yellow out here, but I'm more white inside than I am, Chinese. But I'm so happy that my wife, she's very Chinese, and so we speak Chinese at home, and so we still have this best culture and everything like that, and so we have this perfect balance. And now, my son, he went elementary school in China, junior high in Taiwan, and high school in the US. And so now he speaks better Chinese than me. He reads it a lot better than me. And so now, hopefully, I've left him with enough options and choices that he can do a lot with his, whatever he wants to do. And so
that's
now
amazing.
I've got to work on our second one. And so hopefully,
still have How old is your second son?
He's 12 right now. So
okay.
They're
wow, there's quite a gap there. Did you say your oldest was 21, almost 22?
Yeah.
So, wow.
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. We were hoping to have, like 4 or 5, but hopefully maybe the second generation to have more. So.
Yeah. We're hoping that maybe we'll get some grandchildren here sometime.
Yeah, congrats. Yeah,
Or
we'll
maybe,
see.
well,
Let's see
no,
if we
they're not married. None of that's happening. I'm just saying, we're ready.
Someday. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, it's been so
Someday, yeah.
awesome talking to you.
I know you're just like I said, your story is so fascinating and just not, we don't get to hear this kind of heroic journey every
Oh,
day. So thank you so much for sharing. And I know it's probably hard to revisit those memories, but thank you so much for educating us. And at the same time,
oh yeah, thank you.
being
And
weepy.
thank you. Congrats. Yeah. I always tell my son, I said that opportunity will arise, but you have to be prepared for it.
Uh,
And so, right now he's off at NYU studying, doing well and all that, and it's opened up his eye a lot. He's seen the culture in a humongous city like New York, and also attending school in China and Shanghai. And so, I tell him that opportunity will come, but you have to be prepared for it. And so you never know the next opportunity will be. And so um, I believe I was very fortunate, very blessed to be given this opportunity. And so hopefully, as I travel the world and do my work, I'm able to contribute to help people to live a better life. And so hopefully, that the goodness that was done to me, I can pass it forward and just keep going. And, it's all we can do, might as well, if you're going to live in this world, might as well live it, be happy, help other people the best that you can. So,
right. Well, that's inspiring. I feel like I need to be a better person now.
Yes.
hey,
Thank you.
You're like, it's kind of too late, but maybe I can change who I am and make a difference.
Maybe we
to
can
somebody.
become more like Key.
No, we're really proud of Allison and all the work that she's done and all I see them I see all your accolades on Facebook. So, and
thank you.
also
She is awesome.
the aspiring model that you are, right, Allison?
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Well,
it's been wonderful.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much.
Being so close with you guys like that. So yeah, let me know anything I could do to help out. Let us know.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. We'll go ahead and shut this off then. But you can stay with us. We'll talk for a second.
All right.